Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about NFL teams and how far they can go into the playoffs. We are around that point. Week 15 is essentially over. We are just waiting for the Monday night game, which is tomorrow, to conclude, and then week 15 will officially be over. And then we'll be looking forward to Thursday night with the Seattle Seahawks and Los Angeles Rams, which I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm a little disappointed with how they played against the Colts, but a win's a win. You just can't play like that against the Rams. So, anyways, let's get into it. So, yeah, playoffs are right around the corner. Two teams have clinched a playoff spot in the Rams and the Broncos. Both these teams are 100% in and cannot be eliminated. I think the Seahawks can also clinch a spot if they win next week, or if they win against the Rams. I mean, even if they don't win against the Rams, they can certainly clinch if they win against the Panthers. I think. I'm pretty sure they can. So, but anyways, so yeah, two teams have clinched so far. So the first team we'll be talking about today will be the New England Patriots and how far they can go into the playoffs. Now, again, I'm not a super expert, of course, but this is just all my opinion. So if you think they can go further or you think they won't go as far, go ahead, let me know in the comments. But this is just all my opinion. So, um, the Patriots just lost to the Bills, which obviously Bills are a solid team. They're a good team. So, but they kind of blew the lead a bit. But again, that can happen anytime. When it comes to the Patriots, they currently sit at the 2 seed for now. I don't think that'll change. I mean, it could, but I don't think it'll change for the most part. They could either fall down to 3 or 4. I don't think they'll fall out of the division lead. I don't think. Probably not. I don't know. The remaining schedule has it's actually pretty easy except for one game, which is the Ravens game. I would say the Jets and Dolphins are both pretty easy games, although the Dolphins have been sneakily winning some games recently, so maybe not. But when it comes to the Jets, that's an easy win. The Ravens, I mean, they absolutely stomped the Bengals, but the Bengals are bad, and Joe Burrow might not be on the team next year. But that, I mean, no need to take away from their glory. They still won. They shut them out, so that's impressive enough as alone. Um, when I think about the Patriots, I am very curious as to how far they actually could go into the playoffs. So let's say they do get, I mean, obviously they already, let's just say they get the second seed. Again, I can see them, and maybe going forward, I feel like if they are to lose a game with their remaining 3 games, it's probably going to be to the Ravens, and that's it. I think they can easily beat the Jets and the Dolphins, which would possibly still get them at least a second seed at most. Unless the Broncos fall out of the first seed, they could possibly end up with the number 1 seed. Although I don't think that'll happen because the Broncos are really good. Um, I don't think the Patriots are a first round exit type team. I don't think they would be. If they are the second seed, they will be facing the 7th seed, which I actually don't know who currently sits in that spot. Let me check. Okay, so the I almost said the Colts. The Texans are currently in the 7th seed, which that's the Texans are a good team. They have a really good defense. I feel like if this matchup was to happen, I don't think the Patriots will come out on top. I think the Texans defense is that good. I mean, again, it really just depends on how the playoffs pan out. The Texans, I don't think they'll stay at the 7th seed. I 100% believe they'll at least move up to 5 or 6. I don't think they could. Well, they could win the division if the Jaguars fall off a bit. But for the most part, the Texans currently sit at the 7th seed. So let's just say for today's video, the playoff seeding stays as it is right now. So the Bills are the 6th seed, I believe. The 5th seed are the Chargers, and the 7th seed are the Texans. Which again, if the Patriots remain as the second seed for this scenario purpose, they would be facing the Texans. And I mean, the Texans are a good team. Their defense is really good. I don't know if the Patriots could come out on top. I feel like sometimes, well, again, I'm not a Patriot. I don't keep up with the Patriots too much. I just feel like their offense doesn't have enough to beat this Texans defense, which is really dynamic and deadly. I feel like if this scenario stands out and if the Texans are the 7th seed, I feel like they could probably take down the Patriots. I'm sorry, Patriots fan. I mean, if you disagree, go ahead, let me know. Again, I don't watch the Patriots. I don't keep up with them too much. So, but for the most part, I feel like if this scenario pops out, that might not go in the Patriots' favor. But nevertheless, no matter how the Patriots season ends, as a Patriots fan or just in general, you have to be happy with this season, okay? From, just the Brady era ending a couple of seasons ago, almost 5 years ago I think at this point, maybe even longer. The Patriots have had some rough moments, but it didn't take them that long to get back into the sun and get back on top of their division. So that's impressive, nevertheless. To also, I mean, I know they lost the Bills, but they still dethroned them for the division lead. And as long as the Patriots win out, or at least go 2-1 in the remaining games, they should have the division on lock, which is still impressive alone. But when it comes to this Texans team, I definitely think the Texans could beat them. But I'm not saying that the Patriots will 100% lose. I feel like the Patriots could. I think the furthest the Patriots can go, in my opinion, is probably the divisional round. I feel like if they do get past the Texans in any scenario, I don't know who else they could possibly face. If there's a lucky scenario, maybe they can get to the championship, but I feel like that's where they'll meet the Broncos, which, in my opinion, the Broncos can definitely go to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. But I feel like the furthest the Patriots go is this is the divisional round. If you disagree, I'm sorry. You can again be civil in the comments. But that's my thinking. I think they can at least make the divisional round, maybe even championship if all things fall in the right place. If they run into the Bills again, that would be fun. Wonder to see what would happen in their third matchup. But for now, I definitely don't think they'd beat the Texans in this scenario. But that can generally bounce either way because there's times where the Texans' offense doesn't show up in there. Defense can't do everything. But overall, it's kind of just I think divisional round is furthest they can go. And worst case scenario would be losing in the wild card, but that wouldn't be terrible. I mean, obviously losing the wild card isn't the greatest, but again, the season the Patriots have had has been great nevertheless. All right, so that's gonna wrap it up for the Patriots entry. The next team we'll be talking about are the Packers. All right, so let's shift our focus to the Green Bay Packers today. With how far I believe this team can go, they currently sit at the seventh seed with their loss to the Broncos. Um, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. I mean, listen, their game against the Bears is going to be huge. That's a Saturday night game, which is not cool. They just lost to the Broncos while no, not the Bears absolutely manhandled the Browns while the Packers could not even beat them. So when it comes to the Packers, again, currently they sit at the seventh seed. If everything stands out, they would be facing the Bears. Because if again, as in this scenario, I'm keeping seeding as it is. So I don't. I mean, with the Bears and the Packers, their rivalry runs deep, and it's kind of on any given Sunday. Sometimes with these two teams, especially when they're both good. And honestly, would I personally believe? I think the Bears can honestly probably get them in this Saturday night game. Maybe they can probably split with them. But the Bears are certainly having a good season, and the Packers, again, there's times where they do not show up, and they particularly did not show up last year in the wild card against the Eagles, and I mean, they had a good game against the Broncos for the most part. I mean, Jordan Love had two picks, I think, but near the end, I was watching it, and they just kind of they. I don't know why. I know they had some injuries, and the worst part is Micah Parsons got hurt. There were some injuries. It just if they face the Bears, it could go either way because they're division rivals. But if some other team gets into that second seed spot, um, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think the Packers will get out of the wild card. Depends on their opponent, really. But again, if the scenario stands, when it comes to the Bears, I mean, it's maybe, but it kind of just depends. But without Micah Parsons, it's going to be really hard to win games going forward. It's going to be really difficult to win games going forward with Micah Parsons out. And I believe Christian Watson also got hurt. I don't know if he's out for I mean, I don't know how long he's out for, but again, injuries suck, man. And I mean, Micah Parson he's the rhino on that defense. He's the force, all right. And without him, I just don't think they would create any force. I don't think they would win against the Bears or maybe. I mean, I think the furthest the Packers go is the divisional round, maybe. But I honestly, I don't even know if they get out of the wild card. I'm gonna be honest. I do not think they get out of the wild card because they've struggled a lot this year. There's times again where their offense does not show up, and Jordan Love throws like one touchdown and two picks, and then when they're trying to get desperation, like when they're down a touchdown or down a field goal, they don't pick the right play calls. They're straight up instantly trying to throw it deep, and it never works out. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think the Packers get out of the wild card round. That's just my take. Again, if you want to disagree, go ahead. But I honestly don't think they get out of the wild card. Again, it really just depends if they really do face the Bears. That can go either way. But right now, as it stands, it could go either way. But personally, I do not believe the Packers get out of the wild card. All right, the next team we are going to talk about is another NFC team. Today we're going to be talking about the Los. Well, right now we'll be talking about the Los Angeles Rams. Um, so their next game is against my Seahawks, and it's very important the Seahawks win that game. Um, again, as a Seahawks fan, I'm generally hoping so. But again, let's talk about how far this Rams team can go. So if all things stand and they do get the one seed, they would obviously get a bye, so they wouldn't be a wild card exit, of course. And I also don't think they'd go out like the Lions last year, because we all know what happened to the Lions last year. They got the one seed, and then Washington came in and kicked their ass. As a Seahawks fan, okay, I'm not going to be a hater right now. I'm actually going to be try not to be a hater and just give my honest football take and how far the Rams can actually go. Um, Worst case scenario, they actually do get bounced in the divisional, but I don't know who's going to come out of the wild card and want to face this Rams team. This Rams team is good. All right, I hate saying it, but they're good. Their offense is electric. Their defense is stiff and strong. Occasionally, you can find ways to break it, but it's their offense that can really hurt you, and also they're pretty good damn coaching too. They make the right choices. Matthew Stafford doesn't make too many mistakes, so if he gives you an interception, you better turn it into points. Or if they fumble, you better turn it into points, because this Rams team does not make a lot of mistakes. They do not. And I know again they lost to the Panthers, and the Panthers are a weird team, but I still believe the Rams can. I hate to say, I really, really hate to say it. The Rams can certainly make the Super Bowl. All right, they 100% can. And I don't like saying that. I don't like saying that at all. I think I don't even know who their biggest threat would be. I don't think it's the Niners. The Niners are one of those teams I feel like that are a wild card exit if they make the playoffs, which at this point they probably will. Maybe depends on how things go, but I feel like for the Rams, their biggest threat in the NFC would possibly be their own divisional rivals. Maybe I guess maybe the Niners or the Seahawks. I don't think the Niners are healthy enough to really compete with the Rams on a extremely competitive level, though. And the Seahawks played terrible last time we played them, and only lost by 2 points. So it'll be a dogfight on Thursday night. Hopefully my Seahawks can come out on top. I hope so. I'm gonna hope. But overall, when it comes to the Rams in general, I think worst case scenario they get bounced in the divisional or championship. But the furthest they can go is the Super Bowl, in my opinion. That is obviously that's all you can do. Now, could they win it? It depends on their opponent. It depends on their opponent. I feel like if they run into the Broncos, this is where my inner hater's going to show. I think the Broncos can beat them. The Bills, Josh Allen's a superstar, so that's a big maybe. But it really depends on who the Rams face. Maybe we'll get that one Super Bowl rematch, Patriots Rams. One of the worst Super Bowl ever. One of the worst Super Bowls I've ever seen. I watched that entire fucking game. I didn't watch the entire thing, I don't think. It was just nothing. It was nothing. It's terrible. But overall, Rams are, again, I hate to say it, they are a good team. They are a great team. Um, is It's gonna be a nice game on Thursday night. Hopefully, it's not as interception Sam Darnold ridden, and it's actually a battle. I hope so, because I like battles. I like watching that. But overall, the Rams can certainly make the Super Bowl, to be honest. And the furthest they go is the Super Bowl. The part where like, I guess the worst case scenario would be a divisional round bounce or a championship loss to the Seahawks. They go to the championship and they lose to the Seahawks. That'd be awesome. That'd make me so happy. I'm joking, but overall, Rams can certainly get it done, possibly, but we'll have to wait and see. So, again, as I say, the furthest it can go is definitely the Super Bowl or the championship. All right, next team we'll be talking about will be the Buffalo Bills and how far they can go. Their remaining schedule is relatively easy. Their last three games, I can certainly see them honestly going 3-0, possibly. They can easily beat the Browns. The Eagles will be a bit of a tough one. And who they finished with? The Jets? The Jets? I actually didn't look. It is indeed the Jets. So they can easily go 3-0. The worst case scenario is 2-1. With the Bills, there. Okay, one thing. Patrick Mahomes is not in the playoffs, and I understand he got hurt. I really hope this is football, man. No matter how much you dislike a team or I guess whatever, never wish injury on them. Like I don't wish injury on Matthew Stafford. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't wish injury on any of the 49ers players, anyone. Patrick Mahomes getting hurt is bad. I believe it was a torn ACL something. This sucks, especially this late in the year. I know those injuries can take a while to recover. So I hope for a speedy recovery for everyone who was hurt this week, and honestly, everyone who was hurt in general this season. But with the Chiefs out of the way, um, is this the year the Bills go to the Super Bowl? No, absolutely not. I'm joking. There's okay. The Bills are a solid team. Okay, there's kind of times where they aren't perfect, but they are a solid team. All right, they're a good team actually. Now, their biggest threat in the AFC would easily be the Patriots. Again, would be the Patriots, Chargers, maybe. I don't think the Steelers are part of this. If the Steelers make the playoffs, which we'll see, because it's either between the Steelers or the Ravens. But I think the biggest threat for the Bills right now would be the Broncos, Chargers, Patriots, and Texans. I think that's the four teams that could be trouble for this Bills team. But with how far they can go, well, I don't really 100% know. I think with the Bills, they can. I honestly think they can certainly make the Super Bowl. Maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest though. I feel like if they run into the Broncos again, though, I think the Broncos can best them this time. I know a lot of people say. I saw someone like, "Oh, well, they'll beat the Broncos again and they'll lose to them in the playoffs." I don't think that'll happen this time. The Broncos are a much better team this year than they were last year. Their defense has gotten better. Bo Nix played a really good game against the Packers, and honestly, Bo Nix is really good. Um, but that game can generally go either way. With how far they can go, actually, I don't know how to answer this question, man, because the Bills are a bit of an odd team. They are a bit of an odd team. I don't know what to say. I think personally, I definitely think the furthest they can go is the Super Bowl. I feel like when you have Josh Allen, and now you don't have to worry about your kryptonite in the Chiefs or the Bengals, who have beat the Bills a couple times in the playoffs. I mean, they're again, they do have threats. All right, the Broncos are a threat to them. The Patriots could be a threat to them. The Chargers could be a threat to them, and the Texans could be a threat to them. Outside of that, if they could either hope that those other teams get eliminated by other teams or they beat them themselves, I don't think there's not a lot that this Bills team can't do. Their running game is working really well for them. And when Josh Allen is on, he is on. And again, I'm going to be honest. I think they can make the Super Bowl. It just depends on how everything works out. But I think the worst case scenario for the Bills would be I don't think a wild card exit. I don't think a wild card exit would be possible for this team. I think the worst case scenario would be a divisional round exit. Honestly, even worse would be another championship exit, actually, because I mean Mahomes is not there to stop him this time. But the best case scenario would indeed make the Super Bowl, and I honestly think they could if all the cards fall in the right place. So, in my opinion, the furthest the Bills can make it is the Super Bowl. The worst case scenario is a championship loss, and the reason why you might be saying like, why is it a championship loss? Well, because that's just you're so close, but you didn't make it. I don't know. Maybe it'd be divisional actually, but again, I certainly think Josh Allen's a great quarterback, and he can certainly take this team to the Super Bowl. To be honest, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, furthest as they can go, championship or Super Bowl. All right, we're going back to the good old NFC with this one. We have the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, you know I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'm gonna try my best not to be biased here. But with the remaining schedule, I could generally see them going at least 2-1. All right, the Rams game could generally be a challenge, and I mean that's generally for the division right there. If the Seahawks can't, well, it's not 100% for the division, but if the Seahawks can manage to split with that game with the Rams and win, of course, our odds of winning the NFC West are a little bit higher and honestly getting the number one seed. So that could also happen. But if the Rams win, our chances of getting the number one seed are practically over, or winning the division. And the best we can do is at least, go 2-1 at least. Worst case scenario is 1-2. I don't think they go 0-3 in this final stretch. Seahawks did not play well against the Colts. I will acknowledge that. The offense didn't really show up. I will give a huge credit to the Colts defense. The Colts defense honestly played really well. And Phillip Rivers, despite the fact that he couldn't throw the ball more than 15 yards, he played solid. They were really just heavily relying on that screen pass and that short plays, and the defense wasn't really ready for it. And also, the Colts O line really protected old man Philip Rivers pretty well. So, but the Seahawks have to play better when it comes to this Rams game. I mean, this Rams team is generally great. Even if Devontae Adams is going to be out this game, you got Puka Nacua, who almost went for 200 yards last week or against the Lions. So, granted, I would say the Seahawks secondary is certainly better than the Lions, and the Seahawks kept Puka Nacua to under 100 last time, but it's going to be big. If the Seahawks want a better chance of getting going further, they got to win this game. But again, I'm going to be honest with how far this team can go. Okay, I honestly think the Seahawks' only real threat is probably the Rams in the NFC. I'm going to be honest. I generally think if we run into the Packers, we can beat them. If we run into the Bears, we can beat them. If the Seahawks run into the Eagles, they can beat them. If they run into the Bucks, they can beat them. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little biased, okay? Some of these games can generally be a toss-up, but I feel like the Buccaneers, who are not playing very well, or the Panthers. If the Panthers win their division, I feel like the Seahawks can certainly beat them as well. I'm gonna be honest. The furthest the Seahawks can go is generally is possibly the championship or the Super Bowl. Because I feel, listen, the Seahawks defense is really good. The Seahawks defense is phenomenal, and if the offense is on the same level and is playing well, they can beat any team. Like, a lot of people say, oh, well, the Rams won last time. Yeah, the Rams played better, but we only lost. The Seahawks only lost by 2. People continue to forget that part, is that they only lost by 2 points. And if it wasn't for that fantastic punt by the Rams punter, and let's just say the Seahawks got the ball at the 25-yard line normally with the punt, I feel like they could have gone closer or got that game-winning field goal because Jason Myers is a clutch kicker. But this Rams game on Thursday night is going to be tough. It's going to be a big game, so it's very important for the Seahawks to win that one. But again, the furthest this team can go is generally the divisional round, championship, or Super Bowl. But my thinking is generally, because listen, they're not going to get swept beating the wild card. They can generally beat any of the wild card teams, in my opinion. I just don't like if we got to go Green Bay. I feel like the Seahawks can beat the Green Bay Packers because the Packers are so inconsistent sometimes, and the Packers secondary probably could not contain JSN or the entirety of the Seahawks offense. And then when it comes to certain other teams, some teams can give us trouble, but I generally feel like the biggest threat would be the Rams for the Seahawks. So if the Seahawks ran into the Rams in the divisional round or championship, that could be where the season ends. But I'm going to be honest, I'm very confident with this team. I'm very happy with how the Seahawks have been playing at 11-3 right now. I saw some Eagles fan talking smack and saying they're the most fraudulent 11-3 team, which the Eagles are by far the most fraudulent. What are they, 9-5 now? I don't know, man. But with the Seahawks, I generally feel like they could get past the divisional. Certainly, they can get past the divisional at least championship, maybe divisional. Worse, but certainly not getting beaten in the wild card. That's just my opinion. If you don't agree, go ahead, let me know in the comments. But the Seahawks team is good, and if they're firing on all cylinders, and honestly, the craziest part is if the Rams get beat by some other team, who else could beat the Seahawks? Again, anything can happen in the playoffs, but I'm really confident with this team, and I like how the season's going. It's like, this is the best Seahawks defense I've seen in a long time. The Seahawks offense is playing well. Sam Darnold, yeah, he's not perfect, but certainly I have confidence in this team, and I generally could see a championship appearance for the Seahawks. That's just my take. I could even see a Super Bowl appearance, but we'll have to wait and see. It's one of those few. All right, we're going right back to the AFC with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are honestly playing really well, I would say. They did just smack the Jets, but their next few games are a little... the Broncos game is probably the most difficult one on this list. Maybe the Colts game, because again, divisional games can go any direction. But I feel like they could at least go 2-1 in this stretch. I don't think they could beat the Broncos. The Broncos are a really good team on defense, but certainly they go 2-1, and they probably will finish with a 3 seed at most. Maybe. They could get 2, maybe, but the Patriots kind of have that on lock for them right now, especially if the Broncos stay at 1. The Patriots kind of have 2 at. So the Jags will likely finish with the 3 seed, which I believe usually the 3 and 6 seed usually always face off. I think that's how it works. Yeah, I think it's I don't really remember, but with the Jaguars, I feel like sometimes they're not always great, but with how well this team has been playing, Trevor Lawrence has been playing pretty solid, and their defense has been reliable, and their offense has been pretty good as well. I think this team, I don't think they're a championship team. I don't think they can make the championship or the Super Bowl. But I think the furthest they can get to is to the divisional round. It really depends on who they run into in the wild card. So, for an example, if they have to face the Texans, I feel like that would be a big toss up. Or if they have to face whoever else, I feel like if they run into the Steelers or the Ravens, whatever team wins that damn division, I feel like the Jags can probably come out on top. But I think this team is at least a divisional round team. Maybe, if anything crazy, a championship team to get to the championship round. But I think the furthest this team goes is the divisional round. That's just my take, though. If all things go right, they can maybe get to the championship game. But I feel like that's kind of where their road ends. And yeah, I mean, that's just me. I'm sorry. But I see a divisional exit, but that's honestly better than nothing. So, yeah. All right, next team we'll be going into we're staying in the AFC. We're going to be talking about the Steelers. We will also talk about the Ravens because generally either one of these teams can win the division. So we'll talk about the Ravens a bit later. But we're going to be talking about the Steelers in the scenario where if they win the division, and we'll talk about the Ravens in the scenario if they win the division and how far I think they can go. Let me be honest. I think the Steelers are an all right team. I honestly don't think they can win a playoff game. I think they're generally a wild card exit. Maybe that's just me hating. It really depends on their matchup, but to be honest, every team that's in the playoffs right now in the AFC is better than the Steelers. The Broncos are better. The Patriots are better. And yeah, you could say, well, they lost to the Patriots in week 2 or whatever. That was early in the season before the Patriots were on fire. The Jags are better. The Texans are better. The what other teams are in the AFC right now? The Chargers are better. There's a lot of better teams in the AFC. I just think if the Steelers do make the playoffs, they are a wild card exit as usual. Again, I like Aaron Rodgers. He's been playing all right this year. DK Metcalf had a good game a while ago. I think he had like 160 something yards. He had a big game. That's all I remember. But I just don't think there's enough to the Steelers team to make a deep playoff run. I don't. I think if they run into the Jags or any other team, or which I think they would be the fourth seed, which usually I believe again the fourth seed faces off against the fifth seed, which I think at the moment when I checked it was the Chargers that were in the fifth seed. Nevertheless, I just think the Steelers, no matter what, would be the worst team in the playoffs, and I just don't think they could get out of the wild card. I think they would make it, and that's where they stop. That's their road. That's the end of the line for them. They'd hop on the bus, right? The playoff bus, and then they'd get instantly kicked off because I just don't think they could get past the wild card. And if there's any crazy scenario that they do get past the wild card, they are not getting past the divisional. Maybe that's just me being a hater, but I just don't think this team is sometimes inconsistent. There's times where Rodgers doesn't play well and the offense doesn't show up, and there's times where the defense, which is really expensive by the way, this defense is the most expensive defense in the entire league. There's a lot of money going to every single player on that team. And there's times where the defense can't stop a simple nosebleed. So again, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think this team gets past the wild card. I think they are a wild card exit at most. And if they get lucky and get a wild card win, which again I think every team in the playoffs right now in the AFC picture is better than them. If they somehow get lucky, they're not getting past the divisional. That's just my take, though. Again, go ahead and disagree. All right, right back to the NFC with this one. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, similar to the Ravens and Steelers. I will still talk about the Panthers because generally either of these teams can win, except it seems like the Panthers don't want to win because they lost to the Saints. But we're going to be, again, talking about in this scenario with if the Buccaneers win. I'm going to be honest, I don't like this Bucs team. They are not playing well in this later half of the year. They started out like, 5-1, and now they're 7-7 at the moment, I think, right? I hate to say it, they are a wild card exit. They are like the most obvious wild card exit possible. Like if they have to face the Seahawks, they're not going to win. I know they won against the Seahawks in like week 5, but the Seahawks are playing better since then, and the Buccaneers are playing worse. If they have to play the Bears, they have to play the Packers, they have to play any team. I just don't see that. Listen, they've just not been playing well, and who knows? I could be very wrong, and they could instantly turn it up and beat the Seahawks in the wild card, or they could beat the Bears in the wild card, or beat anybody. But I just don't see that happening. They're so inconsistent. Their coaching is not doing very well. And this team has absolutely fallen off since the beginning of the season. again, just like the Steelers, I don't think they can get past the wild card. That's might be. I mean, I don't think that's a hot take. I think most people would agree with that. Unless they generally lock the fuck in, then maybe. If they lock in, they can get past the wild card and get to the divisional at least. But again, my honest opinion, I think the furthest they go is wild card. I think the wild card is their end of the road for them, just like the Steelers. That's just me again, but I don't think the Bucks can get past the wild card. Generally, if they run into the Bears, Eagles, Seahawks, Rams, I mean, I don't think the Rams will get a first round bye, of course. If they run into any of these teams, Packers, I already mentioned the Packers, my apologies. I just don't think they can get past them. I don't. Or the Niners. I feel like if they run into the Niners, they beat the Niners too, but that game could go toss up. If they have to face the Niners, they could probably toss it up maybe, but generally, I don't think they get past the wild card. I'm sorry. All right, we're gonna wrap up the NFC basically. San Francisco 49ers are up next. Obviously, you know I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm a bit of a hater of the Niners. I'll try my best to be I'll try my best not to be biased. But with this final, honestly, the final 3 games, I think they go 1-2. I'm gonna be honest. They can maybe beat the Colts, and I think that's their one win. Then they're going to lose to the Bears, and they're going to lose to the Seahawks. They will probably likely finish at the 7th seed at most. 7 or 6 is likely where this team will finish. Again, I'm going to be honest. I think the Niners, if they're fully healthy, they can certainly go further into the playoffs. I think if they're fully healthy, they at least divisional at most. But their injuries, I don't know why I mentioned the team next year. He's gone. I think most. I think if they run into the Bears, Packers, Seahawks, Eagles, I don't think they get past those teams. I'm going to be honest. I don't think they get past those teams. I think if they run to the Bucks, maybe it's a toss-up. I feel like I mean, the furthest they can go for the that's probably the best scenario, but in my opinion, the furthest they go their injuries, sometimes like shit. You see 4 picks against yeah, they won that game. They still threw 4 picks. And he's not sometimes he just doesn't play great, and this offense is it's all right, but if you can slow down Christian McCaffrey and generally you can beat this team. Their defense isn't great. They're injured, obviously. Again, if this team was healthy, they could probably get to the divisional round at most, and then lose to the Rams because the Rams are better. But again, wild cards honestly where I see this All right, on to the Philadelphia Eagles and how far I think they can go. Their final few games are, again, pretty easy. Honestly, they probably go 2-1 at most. I think they could lose to the Bills. The Bills are a good team. Some people try to say, oh, the Bills suck this year or they're not as good. Yeah, they're definitely not as good, but they can still beat you out of nowhere because they got Josh Allen who can randomly, it's Josh Allen. He plays very well half of the time, most of the time at least. Their defense isn't great, but if they can lock in, they can certainly stop you. But it's off topic. So when it comes to the Eagles, I think they could at least get to the divisional round. It really depends on who they play in the wild card. Like if they face off against the Packers again, they can probably win that game. If they face off against the Buccaneers, they can certainly win that game. If they face off against the Seahawks or the Bears, who already beat them, by the way, those teams could definitely give them trouble. I feel like if they face the 49ers, the Niners can definitely give them trouble, but I feel like they'd come out on top. I think the Eagles are at least a divisional exit, at most. They can certainly get to the divisional and then lose to a better team. I feel like, especially if they run into the Rams again at any point, I don't think they beat the Rams again. Like, they beat the Rams earlier this year because that's when the Eagles were actually playing well. The Rams are a different team right now than they were at the beginning of the year. And unfortunately, though, there are rumors that Devontae Adams might not be able to make it back in the playoffs. But I feel like this offense is certainly still good enough, with or without Adams. Adams just gives Matthew Stafford a nice end zone touchdown. They can still find other ways to beat you with or without Devontae Adams. And but again, with the Eagles, I think just sometimes their offense isn't there. Sometimes their offense isn't there, and if their offense is not there, they're not winning. Their defense is all right. All right, they're not the best defense by far. And Saquon is not having that elite year he had, but he's still a solid running back who could break away out of nowhere. So you got to be careful when facing this Eagles team. But if you can generally slow down the offense and stump them, they're not going to beat you. I mean, if you can get them to a stump, they're not going to get past you. I think sometimes this Eagles offense is just not there. And I think that the road for the Eagles, it ends in the divisional round at most. If they're even better, certainly a championship appearance. But again, I think if they run into the Rams or Seahawks or Bears, those are the three teams that are probably the biggest threat for the Eagles. Because again, the Bears already beat them. Yeah, they beat the Rams, but the Rams are a much better team now. It's just, again, those are the top three threats for this team, I think. And at least the divisional is when the road ends for the Eagles, in my opinion. All right, it's time we shift our focus to the Los Angeles Chargers and how far they can go. Oh shit! Hold on. I'm sorry. I forgot to put their schedule up on screen. Let me go grab that. Okay, there it is. Anyways, their remaining schedule is honestly difficult. I mean, they got the Cowboys, which that could be hit or miss. The Texans, and then to finish the year with the Broncos. That is honestly outside the Cowboys. Really is a playoff schedule. Except if the Cowboys. I mean, listen, the Cowboys are like. There's times where they can play good, and there's times where they can play like shit. Their defensive line is honestly pretty damn good. So I feel like they can give this injured Chargers not defense, offensive line some trouble due to the fact that how banged up they are. I don't think they go 0-3 in this stretch. They certainly probably can beat the Cowboys, but honestly, worst case scenario, they go 1-2 in this stretch. Maybe 2-1 if lucky. I definitely don't think they sweep this final stretch. But let's get into how far they can make it. I feel like that depending on their opponent, they can get past the wild card. But unfortunately, I'm just going to break it here. I don't think they're going to get past the divisional. I just think their offensive line is too injured. I think that'll generally be a problem. And there's a lot of teams in the AFC have some pretty solid defenses. You got the Texans and then the Broncos. Two of the best defenses right there. Even the Steelers oh no, the Steelers defense is actually pretty sloppy. Never mind. But even the Steelers, even though they lost the Chargers, they gave them some trouble. But I mean, I feel like if they run into each other, the Chargers will come out on top again. I just can't. I don't think I can see the Chargers getting past the division round. Now, granted, they could totally surprise me, but I definitely think they'll get past the wild card, 100%. But the divisional will be where they meet their end, because especially if they have a bad final games of the year, they could finish with the 7th seed, which would hence face them against the 2nd seed, which could depend on their opponent, of course. It would likely be the Patriots or like some other team. But if they magically get past the wild card, maybe not as a 7th seed, we'll see how they finish, of course. I don't think they get past the divisional. They'll run into the Broncos. They'll run into some other better team. It's just, I like the Chargers. I like Justin Herbert. But the offensive line injuries might prove too much at some point. I think in the divisional round it'll show. They are a great team. They could easily surprise me and make it to the championship game. But, I mean, it's a big if, because their offensive line is banged up and they'll have to really hold up against some of the best defenses out there. But as it stands, I have the Chargers finishing their season in the divisional round, falling to one opponent. I'm not really sure who exactly they face off, but I have them falling in the divisional round. All right, so we're going to move our focus to the Baltimore Ravens. This is a what-if scenario if they are able to best the Steelers and take that divisional spot. So, again, as it stands, the Baltimore Ravens are not in the playoffs. But again, this is our what-if scenario if they can make it in. So let's talk about it. With the Ravens, I'm going to be honest, they're not playing great this year. Yeah, again, I know they, took care of business. They took care of the Bengals, but what does it matter? I just can't really see them getting past the wild card. I think it depends on their opponent, of course. I don't think they make it out. They can, obviously, if they make the playoffs, I think they would be the 4th seed, which would face the 5th seed, and it currently, as it stands, would be the Chargers. I don't think they could beat the Chargers. I don't think they could beat any team that moves up into that spot. I don't think they could beat any of those teams. I'm sorry. I think if the scenario, no matter which scenario it is, I think either the Steelers or the Ravens are the worst team in the playoffs. They are the weakest team, whether it's the Steelers that make it or the Ravens that make it. Maybe that's a bold take. Maybe that's a terrible take. And I don't know ball, but I'm telling you, I just this Ravens team, they're not playing great this year. And if they miraculously make the playoffs, which currently doesn't look like they will make it, but again, it really depends on if they can beat the Steelers. But Steelers have a better chance right now. I don't think they get past the wild card. All right, I don't think they get past the wild card. Which you would think this would be the year they make it to the Super Bowl, possibly because the Chiefs aren't in their way, but that's not happening. I definitely don't think that's happening. It's unfortunate, but this is going to be a year where the Ravens get bounced in the wild card. Staying in the AFC, we're now going to shift our focus to the Houston Texans and how far they can make it. Again, currently I believe they sit at the I forgot where they are. 7th seed, 6th seed. They sit as one of the lower seeds. But this Texans defense is good. All right, that's their strength. I will say that is their strength, and I feel like on a good day, their defense can win them against almost any team. The problem is their offense. There's times where their offense just doesn't really show up. And yeah, they can win games, but they won't win it convincingly by their offense. They'll win it mostly by their defense getting a fumble, a takeaway, or just making a good stand. Yeah, their offense is obviously capable of putting up points. I will 100% say that. But there's times where this offense is a little weak. And I feel like that can come in crucial stands. If they face off against the Bills and granted, they already beat the Bills, so, they could probably do it again. But if they face the Bills on a good day and the Texans are having a bad offense day, but their defense does enough, that could really be a hit or miss because the Bills' offense is good. They can find ways to score, but the Texans' defense can find a way to hurt you. So, again, I don't know if they'd face off against the Bills, but currently I think they can get out of the wild card. 100% they can. The problem is getting past the divisional. Again, on a good day, this team can, if their offense is having a good day and their defense is having a great day, they can beat anybody. 100%. And they do face the Broncos later. They face the Broncos at some point in the final stretch of the year, so that'll be a huge test. And obviously, it'll kind of be possibly a playoff preview. They can maybe get to the championship on a good day, but that's a big if. I think currently, I just see them going to the divisional and maybe the road ending there. Maybe. But who knows, man? Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I could honestly see them getting there. I could see them maybe getting to the divisional. But getting to the championship, but that's a big if. A lot of things would have to fall into their favor. But most importantly, their offense has to show up. There's times, again, where CJ Stroud's not having the best game and the offense is just not having the best day, and the defense is keeping the game close for them, but the offense isn't able to put up points or get it close again. There's times where it will be a close game, like 17-14. Their defense is doing everything they can, but their offense isn't able to capitalize. So, again, we'll have to wait and see, but currently as it stands, I could see the Texans at least exiting in the divisional. But they are a great team. We'll have to wait and see. But I currently think they can at least get to the divisional, but unfortunately that's as far as they get. All right, another what-if scenario. We are going to the NFC. We're going to talk about the Panthers and, if they make it, how far can they go? Their remaining schedule is a little difficult. 2 divisional games plus the Seahawks. If they could probably... Again, the division with the NFC South literally comes down between the Panthers and Bucks. Which team is going to come out on top? Who knows? But I think the fate is the same for both teams. I think the fate is the exact same if either team makes it. One of the teams make it. I think if the Bucks make it, they are a wild card exit. And I think if the Panthers make it, they are a wild card exit. I cannot see the Panthers having the Seahawks come to town and win. I can't see the Panthers having anybody come to their stadium because, again, of course, they will win the division, of course. They would have a home game. I don't see, no matter what scenario it is, they would obviously finish with the 4th seed, and it doesn't matter who is the 5th seed, really. Any one of the playoff teams that is going to make it in the NFC will come to town and probably win. Anytime the Panthers have expectations, they disappoint. Granted, anytime anyone picks against them for some reason, they do the opposite, but I don't think it's going to apply to the playoffs. I just don't think so. I think the scenario is the same. Whether it's the Bucks or Panthers that make it, I think neither of them will make it past the divisional. Not divisional, the wild card. Especially the Buccaneers, they're not playing great. The Panthers aren't great either, though. And they are a wild card exit. Sorry. All right, to Chicago we go to talk about the Chicago Bears and how far they can make it if they make the playoffs. Currently, I believe they actually sit at the 2 seed, I think, technically, but their remaining schedule is not easy. They got the Packers, 49ers, and Lions, especially with the Lions, who are not in the playoffs but are currently fighting for a spot. And the Packers, obviously, divisional game, Packers got them just over 2 weeks ago. But the Bears are officially without Roma Odunze and Luther Burden. I believe I just saw where they're both injured and not going to make the game. However, I cannot confirm that. But that's already tough alone as it is. So let's talk about the Bears. Um, I think depending, let's just say everything stands. They do finish with the second seed, which would be impressive by their standards because obviously they haven't had a great few years. And to jump from having terrible Justin Fields to having Caleb Williams a few years later, obviously this just proves that Justin Fields sucks because he just sucks. I don't know why Bears fans want him, but because I believe before they got Caleb Williams, the year before they got him in the final year of Justin Fields, they were literally for some reason chance saying we want Fields. And I feel like if there's a scenario where they kept Fields, they would be last place in the division right now and wouldn't be, they would not be a part of this video. So I'm gonna be honest. I think the Bears can probably make it out of the wild card. Probably can. I feel like if they face the Packers or face, well, I mean, it depends on who the seventh seed would be. If again we keep a scenario where they keep a second seed, or at most if they get bounced out of the second seed and they get dropped to the sixth or something like that, I feel like they can still make it out of the wild card. Maybe it depends on their opponent. I feel like if they, let's just say, drop to the sixth seed and they face off against the Eagles, who are would be the 3 seed, I mean, I feel like they could probably bounce them again because they already beat the Eagles. But granted, the Eagles might turn up and turn to a different football team in the playoffs. But we'll have to wait and see. I could see the Bears getting to the divisional at least. At most, I mean, in the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, they get bounced in the wild card. Even worst case scenario, they miss the playoffs entirely because the Lions come out of nowhere and take their spot. But I think currently, I can see them getting to the divisional and unfortunately losing. I just don't. Depends on again where they finish. I don't think they could beat the Seahawks. I do not think they could beat the Rams. The Niners. If they run to the Niners again, it will really depend on that Week 17 match. But I feel like on a good day they could beat the Niners. But it's a big if. But I could see this team definitely getting to the divisional and unfortunately meeting their end. But I would say it's a very impressive season for the Bears, nevertheless. I think their future, the future in Chicago, or possibly not Chicago, I don't know. I'm seeing random rumors that they might move. Whatever. The future for the Bears, honestly, is pretty bright, I think. I think it's brighter than it's been in a couple years. They actually have a quarterback, actually. You know, they get to, I mean, they've already built around it. He has a solid core around him. Continue to build up that team, and they definitely got a nice future. So yeah, I can see the Bears definitely getting to the division, unfortunately meeting their end. But nevertheless, it's been a good season for them, and they definitely have a bright future. All right, in the final what if scenario, we have the Detroit Lions if they are able to make the playoffs. Oh my bad, I forgot to put their schedule on the screen again. Let me fix that real quick. I apologize. All right, there. So their remaining schedule is Steelers, Vikings, Bears. I mean, best case scenario they go 2-1. Actually, best case scenario they go 3-0. I think if they can definitely beat all three teams, which the Steelers can give them trouble, I feel like they could probably take care of the Vikings, and then the Bears. Both teams will be that might come down to it on who makes the playoffs in that Week 18 game. But let's go for the scenario where the Lions make the playoffs. How far can they go? So let's say they finish at the 7th seed, right? Let's say they finish as the 7th seed, make the playoffs. They face off against the 2nd seed. Let's just say the Packers. I don't know. Let's just say the Bears or the Packers get the 2nd seed, which I don't know if the Packers will. The Bears probably could. It really, again, depends on what happens. I feel like on a good day, the Lions can definitely get to the divisional, but the Lions are not the same team as last year. They're not. They're not playing as well. Their defense can be beaten. I mean, not saying their defense was ever a bright spot in the first place, but their defense is generally a problem, not in a good way, to where like they can shut teams down. It's like not their defense isn't great. Their defense is not good. It's not an elite defense. And it would. I have to say, I think they could probably get past the wild card. Probably, it really depends on their opponent. If they do face the Bears, that is a giant what if. Can they beat the Bears? Who knows? But as it stands right now, I have no idea. So I think with how it is right now, I think the Lions, if they make the playoffs, they can at least get to the divisional. But unfortunately, that's where they meet their end again. I don't know. I think with the Lions, they're not playing as efficiently. They're not playing that great. If they make the playoffs, because currently they're not in it, and it's a big what if. Because if the Bears have a good final few stretch of the games, well then the Lions won't make it. So as it stands, I got the Lions in a what if scenario going to the divisional at most, and that is their exit. So that will wrap up today's video. If you agree with any of my takes, let me know in the comments. But I know some of my takes might have been wild, so sorry if I don't know ball. But that will wrap it up for today's video. It's already 3:54. I don't know if I'll be able to get the weekly prediction out on time, but I'll try my best. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, and have a great rest of your day.